Hi, everyone. In this lecture, we'll be talking about groups. We'll be talking about what a group is, group dynamics, and influences groups have on the individual. So a group is a collection of people who share some attribute, identity with one another, and interact with each other. Groups provide the norms, values, and rules that guide people's lives, so they are critical to the socialization process. There are two major classifications of groups and many different types. So a primary group is one that involves more face-to-face interaction. It involves greater cooperation and deeper feelings of belonging. These groups are closely associated with other members and include friends and family. Secondary groups then are organized around a specific activity or accomplishment of a task. These include groups like school, like work, even religious organizations. So we don't often think of religious organizations as a group that is toward a task, but if you look at religious worship or religious rites as something that people want to get done or that is required by the religion, then it very much is a group with tasks. Secondary groups may become primary groups and vice versa. So let's say you have a job, you meet a romantic partner at that job, and then you start a family. That is a secondary group becoming a primary group or giving birth to a primary group. A crowd then is a temporary gathering of people in a public place whose members may interact but do not identify with each other and will not remain in contact. So a crowd is a temporary group based on collective need to be in that space at that time. So people at a bus stop, they might be going different places, but they are all at that bus stop. So that's what they have in common, and that's how they will interact. People in a movie theater, that is also a crowd. They might have the common interest of the movie, but other than that, they might have very little in common. A social network, then, is a web of direct and indirect ties connecting an individual to other people. You, your family, your friends, your peers, your colleagues, your teachers, your coworkers, and the people that they know. Those are all your social network. Facebook, Instagram, other social media, those are social networks, but the phenomena has always existed. Online networks are merely an extension of those social networks. So this is an example of a basic social network. So this dot right here, this could be you, and this is two people you know. And then those two people also know each other, but this person knows this person, but does not know this person. This person knows this person, but this person does not know this person. Oops, sorry. These two people do not know each other, but they do know this person. This person knows this person. This person knows this person. And then this person knows these two people and they know each other. This could represent almost anything. This could represent you and people at your school or workplace. It could represent you and people in a religious organization, or it could represent you and this could be you, and this could be like a known drug dealer in Thailand, right? It could be any number of things. It can represent anything. And just because you're in the same social network as someone does not mean that you actually know the Thai drug dealer. Now let's discuss group dynamics. Group dynamics are the patterns of interaction between groups and individuals. This includes the ways that groups form and fall apart, as well as the way groups influence members of the group, and any other number of behaviors that groups may lead to or groups may do. An in-group is a group that a person identifies with and feels loyalty toward. So this is us. This is the group that you are a member of, that you you're part of. The outgroup then is the group that a person feels opposition, rivalry, or hostility toward. So the outgroup is them. In-groups and outgroups may be macro level, they may be micro level, or they may be meso level. They may be somewhere in between. So your in-group on the micro level might be your family. The out-group may be the family that lives next door that you don't particularly like. Your in-group may be the United States of America, and the out-group could be a country that we are in war or opposition with on the international scale. It can go on any number of levels. The size of the group dictates the nature of the group. So as group size increases, intensity of relationships decrease, while overall stability of the group increases. And exclusivity occurs as members limit interaction within the group. And these two phenomena are especially intense with small groups. So the size of a group dictates the nature of the group. Cliques often form around characteristics such as age, gender, class, race, or ethnicity. So if you are in a club and you are the only other black person, you might gravitate toward that other black person because you feel you have things in common. Or you're the only other Spanish speaker, you might gravitate toward that person. Or you're the only other comic book collector, or the only other person that really likes Doritos, or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. And then you find someone else that is also a comic book collector, and then you form a little clique within the group. Social closure is another phenomenon we see in groups, which is the ability of groups to exclude outsiders or undesirables from participating or enjoying resources. This can be just part of the group, right? So you have to be above the age of 25 to apply to be in this group, or you have to have a driver's license, or some groups historically have said you have to be a man, right? Or even more historically, you have to be of a certain religion, right? This is how groups control who is in a group and who isn't in a group. It could be discriminatory, or it could just be something that the group needs to be able to function. So maybe the group is about racing stock cars. Well, you need to be able to actually be able to do the thing, and that's controlling the group. Yeah. Now, a dyad is the smallest possible social group. A dyad is 2 members, and it is unstable because of its small size. Obviously, if one person leaves a 2-person group, you don't have a group anymore. But it is very strong because of the intimacy of the group. If you have a strong one-on-one relationship with another person, then obviously you have a tight bond with that person. The most common type of dyad in our society, obviously, is a 2-person romantic relationship. But there are many other dyads. I'm sure you may have personal relationships with friends or whatever like that. A triad, then, is a 3-person group. It is more stable than a dyad in that if one person leaves a triad, then it becomes a dyad. Additionally, conflicts between 2 members of the group may be mediated by the third. So if 2 people in the group get in an argument, then the third person could say, hey, listen, do we have to be like this, or whatever. In that way, triads are incredibly strong, but slightly less common than dyads. Here we have a visual representation of the dyad, triad, group of 4, and group of 5. So in the dyad, we have A having a relationship with B and a very strong relationship there. In the triad, we see A having a relationship with B and A having a relationship with C, and then B having a relationship with C. In this relationship, there are 3 relationships, right, in this group. In this group, there's only 1. So the two people can put all of their energy into this one relationship, while the three people have to put energy into three different relationships. While in a group of four, it's possible to have a group of four very close people, but a group of four must keep track of 6 different relationships to maintain harmony in the group. And the group of 5 has to maintain 10 relationships. This is why you don't often see groups of 5 very, very close friends, especially out of high school settings where it's more conducive for those kinds of tight groups. And these are some relatively common, some more common than others, very small groups. Now, alliances, coalitions, and subgroups often occur in groups. So a subgroup often forms between group members, which allows members to dominate the group for their own self-interests. A subgroup may be based on any number of things. A subgroup may be based on the fact that one person has a stronger relationship with another person, and then that third person just is kind of an outsider. This does have a tendency to destabilize a group. So a subgroup may actually lead to a group falling apart or a group changing or whatever. That is a real social dynamic and a real social phenomenon. And that's how new groups are formed. Now let's talk about the influence groups have on the individual. Social influence, which is often known as peer pressure, especially for high school guidance counselors, is the influence of one fellow's group members on individual attitudes and behaviors. So this is your group influencing your behavior. Generally, as humans, we conform to group norms because we want to gain acceptance and approval, i.e., we want positive sanction, we want rewards, and we want to avoid rejection and disapproval. We want to avoid punishment by the group. So we go along with the group because we want the group to continue rewarding us and not to punish us. There are 3 stages of conformity to a group. These stages of conformity are obviously more obvious if we have a more formal group, but they still exist with less formal groups. So your first stage of conformity is that of compliance. This is the mildest form of conformity in which actions are taken to gain reward or avoid punishment. We see compliance in organizations like a fast food restaurant, where people go to work at a fast food restaurant so that they continue to be paid, and they follow the rules because they don't want to be fired. But really, nobody is going to put themselves in harm's way for working their fast food job. Identification, then, is the next step of conformity. This conformity establishes and maintains a relationship with a person or a group. So if you have a real relationship with someone at the fast food restaurant that you're working at, or at the organization you're working at, or at your school or whatever, if you have a real human relationship, you are more likely to follow the rules and to conform to the group because you don't want to hurt that other person that you have a relationship with. That is the identification phase. And then the internalization phase, which is the strongest type of conformity. In this phase, an individual adopts the belief or actions of the group and makes them his or her own. So you follow the rules in the internalization phase because you think they are good rules. And you do things for the organization because you think it is a good organization. That's the internalization phase. People who are higher up in an organization, who are the leadership of an organization, are more likely to internalize conformity than those who are at the lower levels. But that's not to say that internalization of conformity can't also occur in the lower levels of an organization. This is a paradox of groups, in that a group almost always outperforms an individual, but rarely performs as well as it could in theory. So one person doing a job all by themselves tends to work a whole lot harder than 5 people doing the same job. Even though those 5 people those 5 people aren't going to put as much effort into that job. The 5 people, because they can produce more output, are still going to outperform them. This phenomena is called social loafing, and it increases as group size increases. So there will be some social loafing in the 5-person group, and there will be much more social loafing in the 100-person group, right? Because that's not because people are inherently lazy. It's because if you have 100 people doing something, then it will appear to some, well, this is getting taken care of, or some energy needs to be put in by an administrator to make sure everything's flowing. And then if that administrator has to do the job of administrator, they can't then do the actual work of the group, right? That's the phenomenon known as social loafing. Now, group leaders can increase efficiency, but by 2 means. Either they can recognize individual effort, so they can say, good work, Jake, you did a great job at doing this, or they could punish you individually as well. That's also recognizing individual effort. Or you can increase a member's social identity, which is defined as the degree to which they identify with the group. So you can make, in a clunky way, this can sometimes happen in corporate America, where you make up teams, right? Where you have the red team and the blue team, and the red team, pit the teams against each other. That can make a type of social identity. If done right, social identity and recognizing individual effort can really make a group quite strong. If done wrong, recognizing individual effort can look like favoritism, and increasing social identity can simply go wrong in any number of ways, particularly if it does feel artificial, right? If it feels arbitrary, if it feels like, well, something HR made us do, then that can actually hurt the group's solidarity and solidity. Okay, that is it for this lecture. Let me know if you have any questions, and as always, I will see you soon.